how to craft the perfect message on LinkedIn and actually get people to respond to you. Hi, my name is Chris Cozzolino, and I am the co-founder and head of services at Uptown Creation, a B2B marketing and business development company. So what I'm going to be talking about today is going through the three principles that I utilize for all of our clients as well as our internal accounts to actually get responses when we send messages out on LinkedIn, as well as going through some of the best practices for messaging on LinkedIn. So there's also three different ways that you can send messages. So I'll go through the three principles that I use for individual messages, as well as the three different types of messages you can send out on LinkedIn for free. So to start off, I think the best thing to do is to go into my inbox and show you some of the bad messages and the things that you want to avoid. So realizing that everybody on LinkedIn is being bombarded by messages on a daily basis. So your goal when you're sending a message is not to give them paragraphs of information. It is to get them to respond and to get them to read past the first line. Because chances are, if somebody sees something that is a pattern that they've seen in other messages, they're done reading. So if you aren't able to break the patterns that people are seeing, you're never going to get them to even read, even if it's a really genuine message to start off with. So some of the dirty phrases that I tell everybody to avoid are avoiding phrases like, thanks for connecting. Thanks for adding me to your network. I'd love to explore mutually beneficial ways we can help each other. Things like that are in so many botted messages that I receive, as well as other founders, other C-level executives, other people who receive a lot of messages know exactly what I'm talking about. So you need to avoid these dirty words like the plague. I would also encourage you to avoid sending lengthy messages. Anything over 500 characters is going to be less likely to get responded to. And not to say that you can't send something over 500 characters, but trying to make it short, sweet, and to the point is going to be really effective. And later in this video, I'm going to share the method that Tim Ferriss actually uses, which I think is a really, really, really good template, especially when you're first starting out, to give you a place to start refining some messaging. So if we look at the message that's on my screen right now, I hope this email finds you well. I came across Uptown Creation as I was searching through LinkedIn, and it left such a strong impression on me that I had to reach out. So rule number one to avoid being overly vague. Like, I know that this guy didn't actually find Uptown Creation from searching through LinkedIn, but he words it like this so it can be sent out to a bunch of different people. And then he goes straight into the pitch. Are you interested in overseeing and enhancing your software's technical quality while improving your team's productivity? Like, that's a mouthful for me, and I don't even know what that means. So I'm never going to read even that far into the message, and most people aren't. And this is actually like an ad that somebody's spending money paid on, which is kind of wild. So going to a similar InMail message where it has the title, not a terrible title, not overly creative, but then going in and reading, they go into the results aspect. Most people, like, this is something to save for the demo call. Save your results, save that hard pitch for the demo call. Just try to get people on a call in the first place. Like, he's pitching a demo call, but he's telling me all the things that he's probably going to repeat on that demo call anyways. And then here's another one. Appreciate the connection, Chris. Let me know your thoughts on an intro as your schedule permits. So again, like, asking something, not giving anything. Some other principles to really avoid is what I call the value vomit. So don't just throw PDFs at people where you're assuming the problems that you have. What you really want to do in the messaging is let people uncover their own problems and let them want to speak to you about those problems. So now I'll go into the right way to send messages and the principles that I employ for myself and my other clients. It's how I've scheduled, podcast episodes with people like Mark Randolph, the Netflix co-founder, and gotten him to respond to me and direct me to his publicist versus going the other way from the ground up. That's the power of LinkedIn, is being able to, bypass any gatekeepers. So with that being said, the message template that I follow when I'm thinking about it is step one, you need to address the elephant in the room. So you're reaching out to somebody cold. How do you address this in a creative manner? So, Maybe this is saying, I saw we knew some of the same people. I saw that you made a post on Gary Vaynerchuk's post the other day. I've had people reach out to me saying things like that. And I immediately responded because, yeah, I did leave a comment on Gary V's post. They actually saw what I said and it meant enough to them that they reached out. Other people will lead with, facts that they would only know about me by looking at my profile. So knowing that I'm a pharmacist, knowing this video that I posted, your PharmD is not going to make you rich, knowing that I'm into personal branding, connecting with me in some way like that addresses the elephant in the room, addresses why you're cold outreaching. So phrases like, I saw we knew a few mutual people, those phrases can work, but trying to make it even more genuine and authentic than that. Step 2 is make your pitch and tell your story. Why should somebody want to speak to you? But don't go so in depth that you bore them and you give them facts that they don't need to make that decision. You don't need to say what your service is in 3 different ways. You don't need to make your pitch in 3 different ways. You just need to get to the point as quick as possible. And then third, having a call to action. So whether that call to action is a question or whether it's, hey, here's a link to schedule a chat with me if you'd be open to it. That call to action is really important because that's the only way that you're going to be able to follow up with a message and actually have a reason to do that follow up. So the 3 steps are: address the elephant in the room. Why are you reaching out to somebody cold? 2, make your pitch and tell your story. Why should they care about you? And 3, a call to action. So to put more template to this, because I know people love templates, even though I hate them. This is a post that I made a couple months ago talking about Tim Ferriss's strategy for cold outreach. So, dear so-and-so, I know you're really busy and that you get a lot of emails and messages, so this will only take 60 seconds to read. So he's addressing the elephant in the room and giving a forward-pacing statement, like this is all that this is going to be. Then he's saying, here's where you can say who you are, add 1 or 2 lines that establish your credibility, and that's it. Then after you establish that credibility and introduce yourself, here's where you ask a very specific question. So you can play around with what this might be, because if you go too hard with a pitch and a pitchy question, you're not going to get responses. But if you're able to ask something that you're genuinely curious about and just build that rapport and trust with somebody, chances are they will be more likely to respond. And then the end, I think, is beautiful as well. I totally understand if you're too busy to respond, but even a 1 or 2 line reply would really make my day. All the best, Chris. So I have this posted on my LinkedIn. If you're interested in looking at it, all you have to do is go to my posts and then scroll down a little bit and you'll see it right there. You can also Google Tim Ferriss's strategy, and I'll include something in the description as well. But I think that this is a beautiful way to start your cold outreach without appearing like everybody else in the inbox. So what you're trying to avoid is, as somebody's scrolling through their inbox, how do you make yourself not look like the hope your Wednesday's going well, hello, how are you? How do you look interesting enough to get somebody to click in? So these ways of messaging people are going to work for any cold outreach. So this works for cold DMs on Instagram, cold DMs on LinkedIn, cold emails, everything like that. But I promised I would go over the 3 different ways to send out messages on LinkedIn. And so the first way is to connect with somebody. And now that you're connected with them, sending them a message after they connect. I highly recommend never including a message in the connection request unless it is very tailored to that person. Like, hey, Chris, I saw your YouTube videos. I'd love to connect with you on LinkedIn. That's something I'm going to respond to, but pretty much anything else is going to be indicative of somebody using a bot. So the second way that you're able to send messages is through InMails. So I'll go into just a basic search so I can show you what an InMail will look like. So you'll use an InMail credit and you'll be able to type in a headline. So this is really the biggest difference, as well as you'll only have 1 message to send to people. So you want to get even more to the point usually. Since InMails, you only can send 1, then if somebody responds, you can continue the conversation. Something that I've tested and works really well though for the intro line is just putting somebody's name, ... This has been really good and really effective in getting people to open InMail at least. So just putting somebody's name and keeping it simple, I think makes it stand out a lot more than the long titles that a lot of people put in. And then the body of the message is the same, but having the call to action probably be pitching a call is a good way to do it, since you only get a single message to send to somebody. So that's InMails. So the first way to send a message is connecting with somebody. Once you're a first degree connection, you can message that person for the rest of eternity. The second way is going to be through InMails, which you'll get credits on, as well as you can send them to open profiles. I'll make a video about open profiles in the future. The third way, though, is events and groups. So for example, when LinkedIn was doing an event called LinkedIn Spark, which was like a sales event, there were 20 some thousand connection, or 21,000, 26,000, sorry, attendees that if you mark yourself as attending this event, you have the opportunity to send messages to these people. This is a really good way if you're trying to get volume out. And, you can send, up to 20 to 50 messages a day this way, as long as you're not being overly spammy. So the caveat with this type of messaging is that with the first type of messaging, connection request that I talked about, you want to be conversational, but tell them enough about yourself that they know where the conversation's going. Same thing with InMails. With events and groups, this is where you can be a little bit more vague and short and conversational. So for example, with this event, what I was reaching out to people is saying, hey, I know this is random, but I saw that you're going to the LinkedIn Spark event about virtual sales. And I was just wondering what methods you're using on LinkedIn and online in general, just to start conversations and avoid super hard pitching in cold outreach. What tactics for reaching out to people and starting conversations have been working for you? So you're asking that question and you're going to get somebody to engage with you back then. And then from there, you can take that conversation any direction that you want, as long as you're reaching out to somebody with a title or a personality that you think will benefit either you or you can benefit them in some way, shape, or form. It's not good to go into relationships in general in life expecting something. So if you can go into every conversation really just trying to provide value to somebody or learn something from them, that's when you're going to be the most successful, is just starting those super genuine conversations. A bonus tip for you is, if you're sending out connection requests, a really good way to up the rate of acceptance is to engage with some of their content before sending a connection request. So if you go in and, you comment on somebody's post, or you like their post, or do both for 2 days before you send a connection request, that person is going to be that much more likely to accept that connection request when you send it, because they're definitely going to get the notification, because chances are their LinkedIn's pretty small. They might only have 400 people in their network, and they might get 5 likes on a post. So your like and comment on 2 posts in a row is really going to stand out. And chances are they'll connect with you, and then you can spark a conversation after that. Hopefully this was a helpful video. Let me know what questions you have in the comments. Connect with me on LinkedIn and put in the message that you found me through YouTube, just so I know that. And feel free to like and subscribe to this video if this was helpful. Thank you.